This is ITV. Certainly the best. Good afternoon and thank you for joining us on Independent Television in Benin. Of course, we have a special guest in the studio, the new resident Electoral Commissioner, Edo State, Barrister Obo Effanga. Many thanks for joining us on this special interview series on Independent Television.
Thank you very much.
Just to let our viewers know that Barrister Obo Effanga is a former journalist, but we know that once a journalist, always a journalist.
Yeah.
He's also a very active participant in the civil society movement in Nigeria, worked with Action Aid in Nigeria, and has also been at the bar for over 22 years or thereabout. Yeah. That's massive. Many thanks for joining us on this special interview series. How long have you been in Benin? How has it been in terms of experience? Is this your first time in Benin?
No, definitely not my first time in Benin, but as resident electoral commissioner, I've been here for 1 month now.
What's the experience been like?
Well, it's nice. The people, my office, great challenges ahead, and we are warming up to it. Maybe we should talk about the weather. Apparently, since I came in, there's no day that it hasn't rained.
Well, that's obviously something that you can change, and nobody can change it. We just have to adjust and adapt.
Definitely.
All right, now let's go to the nitty-gritty of this interview. INEC, as we know, is an institution and midwifing election. Just now, what is at the front burner of the activities of INEC?
Okay, so what we are doing now, and this is going to be the main thing you will know INEC for, apart from the elections, okay, the continuous voter registration. So we are in the second quarter since we started this. As we know, the general elections in Nigeria are due in 2019. That's less than 2 years away. But we need to be sure that every Nigerian citizen who is qualified to participate in the election is given a fair chance to do so. And that is why we are doing the continuous voter registration. Let me just explain this in case people don't know. That the current voter register that we use, the baseline for it is 2011. So the voter register as of 2011, that's the baseline. Whoever did not get on the voter register in 2011, between that time and now, has the opportunity of getting his or her name on the voter register. In 2015, we updated it. So we allowed people who weren't registered to come and register. And we also allowed people who needed to make changes to do so. And after that, we had the general elections in 2015. Between that time and now, we've not really had, a long period of time for registration. But from this year, going forward, INEC is doing continuous voter registration. It means that at any time, you can get registered. So the opportunity this opens up is that anybody who has turned 18 between the last time we did registration and now can easily go and register. But it also means that anybody who missed out being registered previously, and there are lots of legitimate reasons for it, or maybe the person just wasn't interested, this is an opportunity for the person to now come and register. But it's also an opportunity for people who had registered and had not collected their permanent voters card, the PVC, to come forward and collect them, because we still have quite a number of those with us. And it's also an opportunity for people who may wish to move their polling unit from one location to another, to come to us and tell us which polling unit or which area they want to be able to vote. And we will transfer the information from where they previously registered to this new place. It's also an opportunity for people who have lost their permanent voters card, or for one reason or another, the permanent voters card is defaced or is bad, mutilated, to come and we produce a new one for the person.
All right, this is massive. What is the level of enlightenment carried out by INEC to ensure that anybody in this categorization can take advantage of the opportunity now to correct it?
Yes, that is part of why we are reaching out to media organizations like yours to help with the enlightenment on this. We are using different outlets and different opportunities to do this. We also have stressed it that the duty of voter, the responsibility for voter education is something that is very huge that should not be left to any single agency or institution. So while INEC is doing its best, we also want other institutions to help. We've spoken with institutions, agencies like the National Orientation Agency, and they're also helping us with information on that. We are also working with the media to help us with that. But we also think that, very importantly, the political parties, they are the immediate and greatest beneficiaries of elections, that they should be mobilizing their supporters or potential supporters to come and register or make sure they've regularized their registration with INEC, because at any time elections can be conducted. I've said here that the next general elections are due for 2019. But it is possible for an election to happen at any other time before then. It could be a by-election, anything could happen, and you need to to have election. So it is important for political parties to also mobilize their people. We are also reaching out to traditional institutions so that they can use their traditional means of reaching to their communities to let them know of this and take advantage of it, and also the religious institutions. We are reaching out to religious institutions to also, I mean, it would be a nice thing if the preachers at religious meetings spend just 2 or 3 minutes talking about the importance of registration and what people need to do to participate, to register. And that would help a lot, because in this country, the religious institutions play a very vital role in mobilizing citizens for anything. So we are also doing that. And of course, we are also using the non-traditional media, like the social media. You would know that the social media now drives a lot of information, even more than the regular media. Yes, in social media, a lot of information that may be going out there may not be authentic, but we are trying to put in authentic information using the social media. So we are on Facebook. We encourage as many people as possible to use the various social media platforms they have to share this information.
If you just join us, you're watching ITV, and of course, it's our special interview series with yours sincerely, Sonny Duke Okosun. Today, we have in the studio the new resident electoral commissioner, Barrister Obo Effanga. He's sharing some thoughts with us on what the commission is doing on its continuous voter education exercise, particularly now that the call is on people to pick their PVC and to also register. And if peradventure you misplaced your PVC, something untoward happened to it, you can get it changed. If, for example, you registered somewhere and you have relocated, you can have your voting center transferred to your current location. These are some of the activities being carried out by INEC to ensure that 2019 will be a better year for us all as it relates to the conduct of election. Now, there is this seeming lack of interest by Nigerians in using the PVC for its primary purpose, which is for voting. Most people just want to have it for banking purpose or for other identification. What is INEC doing about this? Is this part of the purview of INEC in terms of this voter education?
Oh, well, the primary purpose of the PVC is for voting, and that is what we'll concern ourselves with. But if people see it as useful for other purposes and they intend to use it, we will not stop them. It should be encouraged. That what it means is that our system is such that people believe in it. I mean, if other institutions rely on the permanent voters card as a means of identification and authenticity, it means that they have, it shows the level of trust they have with INEC and our systems, and I think it's commendable. But we would be interested that people who collect the PVCs will turn up on election day and vote, because that's the primary reason. Not only that, but also it's for them to see a link between the vote they cast, the exercise of the decision as to who leads them, and what happens to governance. If people are worried about what governance is like in the country, the only way they can express that is through the ballot. And like I said, if you don't have a permanent voter's card, which means you cannot vote, you don't even have the powers to remove or put in a councillor. And the councillor is the least level of elected position. So, I mean, we can speak all the grammar, we can say all the things, move with all the power we think we have. But if you don't have the power to determine who represents you as a councillor, then you are just there in the society, you are just following others.
Okay, what's INEC's position on electronic voting? At the National Assembly level, there's a proposal, and even in the recent voting at the National Assembly on the Constitution Amendment, it was used. What's INEC's position? Is the electoral law backing this?
Yeah, when this is passed, when the Electoral Law Act is passed, and if we are asked to do that, if we are given the permission to do that, we will work towards that. Because, I mean, we've even gone ahead of, you will say that INEC had even gone ahead of what the Electoral Law provided by the time we're talking about a card reader. At the time we introduced the card reader, a lot of people thought we were too far ahead of what the system was. But people have seen how that worked in the last general elections, and people thought that. And at that time, I wasn't with INEC. In my capacity as a civil society activist, I was actually campaigning for this, that we've reached a stage. And the point I make is that if in the same system, people can trust their bank accounts and bank transactions to electronic mechanisms, why can't people also trust that the electoral system can work that way? If I can do bank transactions electronically and trust that my money will move the way I want it to move, why can't I also trust that if I vote, that my vote will also be appropriately counted?
Okay, you just mentioned the card reader, but there were a lot of misgivings about the card reader. Some said it was alien to the electoral law, it was alien to the Constitution. Yeah.
Yeah, but that has now been addressed by the amendments that are being proposed by the National Assembly, and we know that by the time this is done, you know, the question was that can the report of the card reader override, you know, the physical, the manual one, and the court kept saying that, well, based on the provision of the act, of the Electoral Act, that couldn't be. But we know that, we hope that by the next election, all that would be corrected, and then whatever figures you have from the card reader will be that which is used in terms of knowing how many people actually voted in an election.
Well, don't you think it was unconstitutional for INEC to have taken that decision to use the card reader when it wasn't backed up by the Constitution?
No. The law did not outlaw it. There's a difference between something being lawful and being outlawed. So the decision we took to, I mean, it was something, an administrative decision. You can take administrative steps to ensure that you deliver on your mandate. Your mandate, our mandate was to conduct elections that are credible, and that the results reflect how people voted. To that extent, the card reader was to help us ensure that that happened. The use of the card reader was in no way meant to undermine that mandate of INEC. So to that extent, there was nothing wrong with that. The only thing was that when you now have to choose between the figures from the card reader and the figures from the manual recording of how many people
as the voter register.
Yes,
okay.
of how many people voted.
Yeah.
Because the card reader may not have captured those whose cards could not be read, but could vote. So it just follows that you'll have to rely on the one that will capture more people. Because remember, if the card reader could not read your information, but it was authentic, your card was authenticated. Now, I think people need to know the stages. You present your card, it is checked, the card reader checks that it is authentic. Then it wants to be sure that you are the one. Of course, your photograph is there, and then you run your, what usually happened was that by the time you run your fingerprints, it may not read. So people say the card reader had malfunctioned. No, it did not. Just that it could not read the fingerprints, and a lot of reasons were given why that happened. And in that kind of situation, they will use the incident form. So it means that in coming up with the total number of people who presented themselves to vote, you rely on the records on the card reader and the records from the incident form.
Okay, one major issue with elections in Nigeria for some analysts is the issue of electoral violence, and that also borders on security. I don't know what your thoughts are along those lines.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Even before now, I kept saying, and I still stress it, that we do injustice when we unduly refer to something as electoral violence. Violence is violence, no matter the basis upon which it was committed. So what does the law say about use of violence? It's a criminal offense and it must be tried. And so when it happens in the pursuit of electoral activities, that doesn't stop it from still being a criminal activity. So it must be treated as such. Because a lot of times when people say electoral violence, the next thing that you will hear is that, okay, well, it was done in the course of the election, so at the end, we tried to do soft landing. Well, let's just forget about it. The elections have come and gone. The winners have emerged. Even the losers have congratulated the winners. But the point is, somebody's right was violated. Somebody's right to life was violated, and somebody's limb was injured. So how does the society address that? Until we make sure that every crime is tried and punished, we will keep on having this kind of thing. And remember that some of the violence also happens even when parties are conducting the internal affairs. And so at the end, people will say, well, it's a party affair, let's just forget it and settle. No, that shouldn't happen. Once a crime has been committed, it must be treated as that. It doesn't matter under what circumstances the crime was committed.
Some would blame INEC too for this, because you never get to see somebody being prosecuted for such a violent activity.
You know, I like stressing the fact that what is the primary purpose of INEC is to conduct elections and announce results. Those other things are ancillary. Yes, we can prosecute, but the responsibility for prosecution is actually that of the police and the Ministry of Justice, the Department of Public Prosecution. So the best we can do is to gather the information and hand over to them. If INEC is going to spend so much time in pursuing prosecution, it means that will now become our major responsibility, and we will not now focus on the real thing that we are supposed to be doing, which is conduct of election and announcement of results.
So if INEC wouldn't prosecute or follow up to logical conclusion, don't you think that would be a distraction?
No, you see, sometimes, let's look at election day activity, how it happens. On election day, security officials are brought in from different parts of the country. So sometimes the security officer who may have intercepted somebody for committing crime and the information is lodged in, by the time you need these pieces of evidence and witness, the person may have gone back to his or her station, and then the process of bringing the person in. And so there are lots of things that are involved in this, that it would be unfair to blame it on INEC as inability to prosecute. How many people are actually arrested anyway when on election day for malpractices? How many are arrested? And then it is not INEC that will do the investigation. It's still the law enforcement agencies that will do the investigation. So in the event they have not concluded the investigation to such a stage that you can actually go to court to prosecute, little can be done.
Okay, let's come back to the continuous registration exercise, which INEC is currently doing. Recently, there was a figure released by INEC at the national level, giving insights into what each state has done. In Edo State, what is the level of response so far, and what can be done on the part of INEC, which you're heading in Edo State, to see how that, improves?
Well, the figures for at the end of the last quarter, the first quarter actually shows that we recorded about, I'm not too sure, about 40,000 new registrations.
Okay.
Between 30 and 40,000 new registrations in Edo State. But we know that there are still many people out there who haven't registered. And so we are using every means for publicity to let people know that they should come forward and register. But like I also said, we're also concerned about the number of permanent voters cards that have not been collected, that are still in our custody because people have not come forward to pick them up. So in Edo State, we have more than 450,000.
Cards uncollected?
Yes.
How do we improve on this seeming disparity between number of registered people on the voters registration system and then the number of actual people that vote on the election? Because this seems to be a trend in Nigerian politics.
Well, it's not just in Nigeria. Across the world, I don't know how many countries in the world that you have up to 50% of registered voters that vote in an election.
Okay.
And from what we've even said in this discussion, some people, the basis for registration is so that they have some form of identification, which is accepted by others, by systems in the country. So there will be people who register just because they want to have the permanent voters card, and that will be a source of identification for them, and they're not interested in participating in the election. There's little we can do about that than to encourage them, to tell them why they should participate. And this is something that other agencies and organizations can also help. So like civil society groups have been telling people why they should participate in the electoral process. That is good. It is also the responsibility of the political parties and candidates in an election, because they need the votes to win. So they should also be able to mobilize as many people as possible who have registered to come out and vote. But you see, if the campaigns are such that it does not give, they don't give people assurances, people will not be interested in coming to. We've had instances at different kinds of elections in this country where the campaigns are such that nothing inspiring for people to come out and vote. So once we have that kind of inspiring campaigns that bring people out, you'll have more people come out to vote.
Okay. Let's just do a recap, particularly in line with the current activity of INEC on the continuous voter, voter registration exercise.
Yes.
This exercise is targeting those who have reached the age of maturity to vote,
Yes.
those who lost their PVC,
Yeah.
those who have relocated from where they registered. So could you throw more light on that for the benefit of our, of our viewers?
Okay, so the permanent vote, the continuous voter registration is an opportunity for people who have not registered before to come and register. So it includes people who have just turned 18, or people who may be much older than that, but were never interested before now, or did not have the opportunity of registering. They can come and register. It's also an opportunity for people who registered and have not collected their permanent voters card to come and collect the permanent voters card. It is also an opportunity for people who had registered, maybe they have the permanent voters card, but where they registered it won't be convenient for them to vote in that place. They will want to vote in a more convenient location. So they come to us and tell us, we want to transfer to this other polling unit. We'll help them do that, and we'll issue them fresh permanent voters card. And it's also for people who may have lost their voters card, or the voters cards are defaced or mutilated. They come to us, we produce new ones for them. So that's.
What in a case you lost your voter's card,
Yes.
what are you supposed to do to get a new one? You just come to INEC and then you get
Well, we will need to be sure that that actually happened.
Okay.
And one way of doing that would be for you to maybe to swear to an affidavit in court, because that is a solemn oath you're taking that this is the facts of what happened, and you present it. And of course, you know that if you didn't in fact lose your permanent voter's card and you swear to an oath that that's what you did, that amounts to perjury, and that if that is found out, it amounts to it could warrant criminal.
Are there measures in place to avoid duplication of cards or cloning of cards while this exercise is going on?
We don't see how the cloning of cards would happen, because when on election day, when you bring your permanent voter's card, the card reader will first of all identify that this is an authentic card, and there can only be one authentic card for an individual.
Okay.
Once that is done, it will also see, your photograph will also show, and will see that you're the one who has presented this before you do the fingerprint thing. So even if somebody picked my voter's card, my permanent voter's card, and made 10 replicas of that, those replicas cannot pass the test because there are mechanisms in that permanent voter's card, the authentic one, that would be matched with the information in the card reader.
Ahead of 2019, a lot is going to be expected from INEC, but on the part of INEC, what should Nigerians expect from INEC? I remember with the coming in of the present INEC the INEC chairman, there was a tag of inconclusive election. I'm sure a whole lot has been done now so that we can change that.
Maybe we should even interrogate this issue about inconclusive election, because apparently many people don't know why elections are declared inconclusive. One of the reasons elections are declared inconclusive is that the margin of vote difference between the person with the highest number of votes and the next person is so slim. And in that same election, there were some places where elections could not be conducted because of maybe violence and disruption. And elections need to be conducted in those places. And the total number of votes available in those places are such that it can swing the victory.
Okay.
So when that happens, the appropriate thing to do is say that the elections are inconclusive until you've concluded those elections and you add the figures here. And why do we have more of such now? The truth is that in the last, from 2015, we found out that we have two major political parties that match each other very well.
Okay.
So in most elections conducted, these two political parties may come up tops, and the difference in votes is so slim, and that happens. But build up to that time, many of the elections, we had reached a stage where in any given state, if one party is strong there, if they are winning, they'll win with such a large margin that those people who did not have an opportunity to vote, it will just be academic to ask them to vote, because the votes cannot, change the result.
Okay.
So to that extent, because we have two major political parties that match each other very well, we are going to have a lot of very slim margins of victory. And whenever that happens, and there are reasons to conduct fresh elections in some places where that didn't happen, it means election will not be conclusive.
All right, thank you so much. I've been talking with Barrister Obo Effanga, the new resident electoral commissioner to Edo State. He's been bearing his mind on a wide range of issues, but specifically on the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise. Where is your PVC? Do you have a PVC? Have you turned 18 between last election and now? This is an opportunity for you to have a permanent voter's card. Now, have you misplaced your permanent voter's card? It's also an opportunity for you to get a new one, but you must swear an affidavit to confirm, to authenticate the fact that you misplaced your PVC. Just in case you have relocated from where you registered during last election to a new place, and you want your voting center to be relocated to your new place, all you need to do is to also meet INEC, and all of that will be done. Barrister Effanga, many thanks for joining us on this special interview series, and I hope that next time we have cause to call you here, you oblige us.
I'm not obliged.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us on this special interview series on independent television. My name is Sonny Duke Okosun. Thanking you for staying with us. Bye for now. This is ITV, certainly the best.